Good afternoon. You're watching AB Live, a brand new news-based chat show in which we discuss topics ranging from news, business, politics, and so much more. On today's episode, we are discussing sustainability as a subject, and with us in the studios, we have Hana Dalmar from DP World, and we have Lauren from Siraj Power. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So both these companies don't really need much of an introduction, but to hear it from the horse's mouth, if you can just give us a quick profile of your company. Let's start with Siraj Power.
Yeah, so Siraj Power is a local company owned by a very prominent family from Dubai, and we decided to set up this company 4 years ago to address the solar market, and especially distributed solar market, which consists basically in producing solar energy, solar electricity, directly from the roof or parking of private companies, private owners.
All right, interesting. And Hana, you work for DP World. So what exactly is your role?
My role is the environmental manager in DP World. I look at all environmental aspects for DP World ports around the world.
Okay, right. So there's a reason why both of you all have come together today on the set. So maybe it's time to announce that. So yeah, any of you all, who wants to start?
Actually, DP World looked at renewable energy the last 2 years, and we actually have a partnership with Siraj Power in our phase 2 of DP World solar program. And Laurent could talk about the partnership we have.
Yeah, we are extremely pleased, extremely honored in DP World, in Siraj Power to have been selected by DP World to be their partners on the development of this program. It consists basically in installing on their facilities, on their warehouses, on their parkings, on some buildings, including their new headquarters, some solar system to produce electricity and from the sun, reducing by this way in a very significant manner the cost of their electricity, meanwhile saving as well or reducing their carbon footprint. So this is a major achievement for us. It's one of the biggest programs in UAE being developed by DP World for distributed generation. So.
Okay, I'm just going to get into the details of it shortly, but Hana, I need to ask you, what was the reason why you all decided that something like this needs to take place? You need to install solar panels on all of your facilities.
Actually, DP World started with the journey of reducing their carbon footprint since 2007.
Okay.
We started with different opportunities, starting with reducing our energy, starting with the hierarchy of reducing energy in your business, with eliminating your any waste you have in your business, then looking at efficiency in your equipment, then also operation efficiency, and then also educating the people. We actually, when the new Shams program of Dubai started, which enabled private businesses to install solar panels on the roof, that's when we actually said that's an opportunity for us to further reduce our carbon footprints here in the UAE, as well as reduce the cost of energy. So that's when we actually started the program. DP World Solar Program started with phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay.
Added this year. We're talking about here more than 154,000 panels to be installed in different rooftops that we have here in Dubai.
Okay, interesting. Right. So now we have two companies that's very different in its profile, but are working together. For example, Siraj Power, you are a solar company, you are a renewables based company. But DP World, you're moving towards, and there's a shift towards renewables, active shift towards renewables. Correct?
No, DP World is actually still a trademark, moving containers, and also we're going into logistic and also marine. However, the renewable aspect has been introduced as part of our sustainability projects we have in DP World to make sure that we are in line with what's happening around the world, and we're becoming the leaders in reducing our footprint.
Agreed, yes.
Yeah, so the renewable energy program had fit in our long-term vision as a business.
Exactly, that's what I meant. You had to sort of incorporate it, fit it into your operations, but you are a solely renewable company, and you basically are into solar panels, renewable source of energy, etc. So for me, my first question to you would be, so the sort of investment that had to go into a company, into an operation like that, what was that?
Yeah, so the solar energy today is great in the sense that it can both contribute to reduce CO2 footprint of companies, and it can save them on a very significant manner on their electricity bill. But it requires a lot of investments that you need to do on day one. And this is where we believe that the model we have set up, which consists in providing not construction service but a full-fledged service, is the right answer to the market. So basically, what we do in solar in Siraj Power, we finance, we install, we operate a solar system. That's what we do with DP World for the next 20 years, and they just get access to cheaper electricity. Investment is on us; it's our business to try the best way to finance it.
All right, and the deal you have with DP World is a 22-year deal, if I'm not wrong? Yeah, so what is the sort of cost that will be involved in this entire operation over the course of the next 22 years?
So the main cost is about CapEx. So solar requires the installation of PV, solar photovoltaic panels on the roof. The cost has drastically reduced over the last 10 years. It has been divided by 10. But still, it remains a very important cost. So that and the installation of it, you need to imagine that we are taking about thousands and thousands of square meters of roofs to be covered. So it involves heavy cost of installation. In UAE specifically, or in the GCC specifically, in addition, during the course of the system, the life of the system, you need to clean, to make sure you remove the dust and you keep continuing to produce a lot of energy. So these are the two main costs involved in solar operations, I would say.
All right, and Hannah, for you, DP World, I know you'll promote yourself as a trade enabler, you'll do a lot of logistics deals, etc. But now again, SDG, sustainability is a huge element of it. So what were the main challenges that you faced as a company to sort of do that shift towards or incorporating sustainability?
So, going back with looking at the sustainability in DP World, sustainability is the heart of how we do our business in DP World. Looking at also how we build our terminals across the world, that we always make sure that sustainable development is part of our port development, logistic development, and so on. If we go back when DP World started looking at sustainability and also looking at the footprint, reducing our carbon footprint, we actually have faced lots of problems because we need first to educate the people, you need to have the right technology available, and also make sure that you are doing your business as usual. So there is a push going on since 2015 with the Paris Agreement to reduce the carbon footprint, and lots of businesses now moving toward having targets in their businesses to reduce their carbons in carbon operation. The International Maritime Operation has actually now have released their targets of 50% reduction of ship CO2 from 2008 to 2050. So all of that actually push us towards how can we run our business efficiently, at the same time make sure our energy is clean and it's also the most advanced technology available.
Right. And Hannah, one thing that you mentioned was the right technology is something you mentioned. I'd like to ask you, Laurent, do you think right now at this juncture, the UAE is technically equipped to do a mass adoption of renewables?
Definitely, and it's even in UAE, it's need to be known because it's a fact that it's in UAE that you can find the largest solar power plant in the world. UAE has heavily contributed to develop solar in the country, and the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Solar Park in the desert of Dubai is the biggest solar plant in the world. So yes, the technology is in place, and Dubai is definitely Dubai and UAE are the leader in the region into implementing these programs. Yeah.
Right. So this is, again, we're talking on a government level, on a corporation level, but when you're coming down to individual levels, for example, again, just thinking out loud,
Sure.
we're a country with a lot of access to the sun and the sun's power and the sun's energy. So why is it that the buildings, when you're talking about individual levels, the buildings, residential areas, communities, etc., don't really have solar panels on them yet? Yeah. And is it something that could come in the future?
It's definitely coming. need to realize that few years ago, the technology was available, but its cost was so high that it was totally uneconomic to install it. So it was very difficult for private company, private investor, private owners to invest in a technology that was generating additional cost. Now the beauty of solar photovoltaic, and that's what DP World realized long ago, is that you can save money by installing a solar system on your roof. And as a matter of fact, we have seen over the last few years a complete shift in the way people look at it. And we have now more and more companies adopting solar. And we start having as well some individual villa owners or smaller buildings owners adopting this technology. It's growing extremely fastly. It's probably Dubai is the part of the world where the adoption or the shift to solar is the fastest in the world, and it's getting there now. Practically speaking, whoever owns a roof can save energy, on its energy bill by adopting solar.
Right, and would you agree, Hannah? Do you see a cultural shift or a mindset shift where people are becoming more environmentally aware and proper citizens who are actually ready to make that change?
Yes, here in Dubai, I've seen that, especially with the push of the government, also with the help of the government pushing the private sectors, pushing also the residential to invest in renewables, and also the Dubai targets of having a clean energy as part of His Highness vision for Dubai. That there is a major shift happening here.
Right, and the clean energy vision is for 2050, where 50% of all energy sources need to be clean. But how far away or how close to that target are we right now, Laurent?
I think the good thing in Dubai is that worldwide to get a shift to solar, you need a vision for leadership. And here in UAE and especially in Dubai, the leadership has been very clear. They have set extremely ambitious targets. And they have set intermediate targets that are being achieved. So we are on the right way to get there. The second thing, which is great here in this country, is it's not only about setting targets, it's about actions. And we see that the whole administration and especially DIWA has been instrumental into taking this commitment commitment from the leadership and translating it into actions. So large power plant being built in the desert of Dubai, putting in place a program that allows private owners to install solar, and combining these two has put us now in a situation where we are on the right way, and we are even in some respect in advance to the target that has been set.
All right, so now one example we see is DP World, then there's the Mohammed bin Rashid, the solar plant in the desert, and then there's DIWA, who's adopting solar projects, solar panels, installations, etc. But what are the major projects that you are currently working on apart from DP World?
Yeah, I think DP World has definitely been a leader, has been in advance of anyone in setting up this large program, and it has contributed to shifting the mindset. And we see now a lot of private companies in the logistics sector, especially going in the same direction. We have entered into a partnership with a company called RSA Logistics now for more than 2 years ago. And they are now installing on all their facilities. They have large warehouses, large stores. We are installing on all of their facilities solar systems. Tomorrow we'll be inaugurating the startup of a system we install on one of their chemical facilities.
Okay.
This is one example, but we see now most of the players, most of the private players having large roofs going into this sector. The retail sector as well. We work with we work with companies such as Landmark Group, Appareil Group, and the same. They have large facilities to distribute the goods and products to their shops, and they have heavy consumption of electricity.
Okay.
The competition is high, getting the opportunity to reduce their operational costs by adopting solar, and in the meantime reducing CO2 is a great opportunity that all these companies start to grasp.
Right, so it looks like corporations are definitely adopting it, and for them it's no more just CSR, it's actually a part of their mission and their goals. But I was again going through the DP World website, and I saw you've got a bunch of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals that you have, and you're actually working in line towards it. So in all of those goals that you have, what would you say are the main challenges or the main things that actually need a lot of effort to look into?
I will not say challenges, but it depends on where we operate. Each country and each operation we have currently across the world has different unique. Depending on the need of the port we operate, we actually develop the right SDGs surrounding it. So for a port development, it's really better it's an economical for the areas surrounding the ports. So we look at the needs available in the country, what's the economy there requires, the society, what it needs, and then we decide on which area should we focus. Here in the UAE, we've seen a focus on reduction of energy. We actually looked at the opportunity of implementing renewable energy here in the UAE. Looking at other ports we have across the world. In Australia, we have actually implemented the number one, or let's say the one of the semi-automated terminals in Australia, which helps in reducing the safety risk as well, reducing the energy required to run the port. Also in our terminal in Busan, South Korea, we are actually shifting toward less low carbon energy engines, or let's say fuels, from a diesel heavy equipment into an LNG equipment which has a lower emission factor. So depending on that need that we have or the available resources in that country, we start putting the strategy and the plan to actually push the SDGs.
You're in a slightly tricky position considering ports again. Like, there are so many hazards when it comes to the environment with regards to ports, the environmental risks and the environmental impact of ports. For example, there's a risk of oil spills. We've seen a few attacks happening recently, not getting into the politics of it, of course, but just the other impacts that ports have on the environment, essentially.
As I mentioned, that ports help to develop the economic on the area, the surrounding when a port is developed. Also, however, there is environmental impacts associated with developing a port, starting from the noise from shipping arriving and so on, also from the heavy engines, going to emission of CO2, NOx and SOx from the engines, also going to a dust when it comes into the operation. If I can subcategorize the environmental impacts, we could look at it from what are the environmental impacts associated with the port operation itself. There's also environmental impact associated from the sea, coming from the ship coming to the port, and also from the land side, the mobility and the trucks going around and coming to the port. So there are different subcategories of environmental impacts associated to the port.
And how are you dealing with that now, all of these hazards?
We actually have a good environmental management system across our portfolio. We actually manage and try to actually reduce any environmental risk or environmental impacts that we have on the terminal.
Right. Okay, fair enough. So, Laurent, with you, we just discussed the costs involved in setting up solar panels, etc. But on the contrary, there are also cost benefits of moving into renewables. So, can you tell us more about that? The monetary advantages or benefits?
I think for large private companies in Dubai today, it's relatively simple. You have the opportunity working with companies like us to get access to reduce electricity costs. We now are able to cut the bills of the people we work with from 30 to 40 to up to 50% in some cases, and it's at no investment for them. So they just outsource this service or this support, this investment on us, and this is our job to try to make it to make the financing, the installations in operation in such a way that they can reduce their electricity bill without investing their time, their money, their energy, their focus in the technology which is not their core business. So they can continue to invest their cash into their operation, into developing their operation. They can continue to use their talents and skills to contribute to this, and just benefiting from reduce bill of electricity using solar.
Right, so there is an economic business model there as well, clearly. And finally, just coming to the whole climate change crisis. We know it's real, we know global warming is happening, we can actually tangibly feel it right now. We're at that juncture at this point. But talking about this region, what do you think is the main problem or the main challenge when it comes to climate change, and how is it that this region is sort of contributing to that in a negative way?
Well, I think that this region when it comes to contributing to reduce CO2 emission is very well placed. We are blessed having sun almost every day all around the year, and we have some regions with a high wind as well. We have as well some networks, electric networks, which are very sophisticated, very well integrated, and when you put all that together, it really opened the opportunities to shift a very significant proportion of your energy production and your energy usage to renewable energy. So this is already happening, and we see again very large projects being implemented, being connected in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Oman now, Saudi. And so we strongly, I personally strongly believe that while it started maybe after the start in Europe, in US, the shift will be faster and will be more massive in this region than it's going on in any other region.
Right, Hannah, where do you see there's a scope for improvement in this area? What more needs to be done?
Looking at how we look at climate change from a port where we actually operate, is that climate change it's a really important topic for us, because we actually operate closer to the sea, and one of the climate change impact is seawater rise, change in the climate, all of that will impact us definitely as an operation. So we looked at the climate change and how we can contribute as a business into the climate change issue, is that how we can reduce our emission and how we can reduce our footprint to help in the Paris Agreement, working towards reducing the temperature below 2% for climate change parts. Here in this region, I see there's a lot of opportunities. And the government and the leadership here are pushing toward these opportunities. And also we see a lot of involvement, not only from the government side, as well as the private company are now looking at the climate change and how they can contribute into that climate change topic.
Right, and finally, we know government has been actively doing a lot of things to help support the environment cause. We know corporations like DP World, Siraj Power, you're all doing things. But on an individual level, if you had to speak to our viewers and tell them what is it that we can do on an individual level to make sure that we are more globally aware citizens, we're not harming the environment more than we've already done so far. So just tips, quick tips for our viewers who are listening to us right now.
From my point of view, because I'm an environmental manager, I always tell people that always think before you do. So when we go shopping, there's a lot of things we buy unnecessarily. We generate a lot of waste that have an impact on the climate change as well with the rubbish. Looking at also in our consumption in our houses, and also the most important thing is the education, especially the new generation. If we have a really good educated new generation of the impact of climate change and how they can have an influence on reducing their energy, how they could have an influence on reducing their waste, have an influence on reducing their overall consumption, that would have a great impact.
All right. And Laurent, a few tips?
Yeah, now focusing on the energy, I think there are different ways to do it, but on an individual basis, it consists in first trying to limit the consumption. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way to reduce the CO2 carbon. In this region, vast majority of the energy we consume on a private basis are related to AC.
Yeah.
And just by increasing the temperature in the room by a couple of degrees can have a very significant and positive impact on the energy consumption. And talking as a solar company, go solar. Solar is a solution that is now really affordable, not only for large companies but for private individuals, and that again can significantly contribute to reduce CO2 footprint and in the meantime to save money. So
I see a potential hashtag there, hashtag go solar. Yeah, it could totally be trending. And of course, say no to plastics. So as and when you can avoid plastics, I think that is also an important measure. But thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for those valuable insights. We've learned a lot about the renewable sector, the renewable industry, and it's great that what both of the companies are doing to promote it in Dubai and in the UAE. And thank you for watching AB Live. We will be back again next Tuesday.